Before you demo or pick up a hammer, your renovation needs a solid game plan. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my super simple 4-step process for how I kick off my renovations. This is going to help keep your project on time, on budget, and profit. Every renovation starts the same way, with the plan. But most investors, they hop in and start demoing and ordering materials before fully mapping out what the job is going to totally need. That is where mistakes and cost overruns start to happen. Now, I've developed a 4-step process, super simple, that helps me nail down my scope of work, my materials, and bids all before demo day. This is going to help my projects run smoother as well as yours. I'm going to walk you through each step, from creating a detailed scope of work, to organizing my subcontractor bids, to ordering materials, so that you are fully equipped for when you go out and start your renovation. So guys, as I mentioned, it works best when we keep this process super simple. Also, the simpler we keep it, the more that you'll be able to duplicate it, and the more that you'll be able to teach it to others and have them do it. So I'll walk you through the process. It's super simple. We're going to start off with our, you see SOW, that scope of work. You can do it room by room, or you can do it by the trade. So how does room by room look? In the kitchen, we have some painting in there. We may want to set some cabinets. We may want to install the countertop. You will get more detail with setting the, install the cabinets, install the cabinet pulls, install the countertop. The countertop, you'll indicate whether it's a stone countertop or if it's a laminate countertop. With us, typically, our carpenters that we use, they'll install the laminate countertops. If we're going with stone, we'll have a different stone provider. So we'll let them know, just set the countertops, let me know when you're all done. That way we can have our stone provider come out and do their template. We want them to hold tight for a little bit because we want the stone countertop to go on, and then we want the backsplash to go in. That way we don't have to risk it being any types of gaps or anything if the guys run their backsplash down and sort of guess where the countertop may end, but you want to get super, super granular. So those are some duties for the kitchen. For the living room, we may have to install a 32-inch entry door, install a 24-inch closet door, install stainless steel knobs. So we're going to need one privacy knob. We're going to need one privacy knob. We're going to need one closet knob. We have 4 windows in the room. They are 32 inches wide and they're 64 inches in height. So we'll need 4 sets of blinds installed there. Next up is the dining room. The dining room is the same thing. We don't have much going on except for we want to put some blinds up. So we have 2 windows in the dining room. So install blinds 32 by 64. 2 is the quantity. So that's what I mean when I say we're going room by room. Indicating what our contractors need to do. So you have 2 different options for your scope of work. You can choose to either go room by room, walk into the living room, write everything down that needs to be done, walk into the dining room, write everything down that needs to be done, or she can break it down by the trade. So even when I'm going room by room, I'll sort of have the plumbing duties and the electrical duties mixed in there. No, I'll break their stuff off into, under plumbing, this is what needs to be done. Under electrical, this is what needs to be done. Under HVAC, this is what needs to be done. Under carpentry, this is what needs to be done. Under flooring, this is what needs to be done. And just do that for every tradesman that's going to be coming through your project. So that's your scope of work. Also, you want to be extremely detailed on the scope of work. You want to write down everything that you were expecting and what you want done and what you don't want done. So you may have a certain type of quarter round that you want to use. You may have for your flooring, you may want your guys to make sure that they're undercutting the door jambs and not just sort of trying to butt up as close as possible and just using caulk as to fix everything. You don't want a sloppy look like that. Or else, let me give another example. For skim coating. Skim coating can be misinterpreted. One time we had a rough ceiling, and I wanted it skim coated to where it would be a nice smooth finish, but my contractor, he misinterpreted it. We also had another contractor who we were used to the way that they will finish out around the window whenever we're putting in a tub surround, and a new contractor that we use, he just He was capable of finishing out that way, but since we didn't necessarily tell him, we assumed that he would do a professional nice finish. He didn't. It was all exposed. It was no trim pieces or anything. So he had to come back and fix it. But that was also a learning part on our end was, hey, you have to be super detailed. You have to tell them exactly what you want them to do, or else you need to walk the scope with them. If you have pictures or finished expectations, make sure that you share that with them, especially if you're going to be working with new contractors. Also, another reason, and we'll get into it, another reason that I'm very detailed on my scope of work is because I build my materials list at a later time. So whenever I'm walking the house, I'm getting quantities, measurements, and quantities. So for my countertop, if I'm going laminate, all right, I need a 10-foot laminate countertop here with the left miter. I need a 6-foot countertop here with the right miter. So when I get back to my office, I know what countertops to order. Whenever I get back, order from Home Depot or Menards or Menards or Lowe's. Or else if I'm going with the stone countertop, I've taken measurements, I got a picture, and I can just shoot it over to my stone guy. What's an estimate for this amount of countertop space that I'm going to need? They hit it right back. That's going to be $1,600. That's going to be $1,800. So that gives me a hard number that I can work with. That I know how much my countertops are going to cost. Also for my cabinets, I'm taking out my measurements because then I take that along with the picture to the store, and they'll actually design an entire kitchen based on the data that I'm bringing them. So we want to be very, very, very detailed in our scope of work. Painting, what sheens are we using? That's important. So if you want to go satin on the walls or eggshell on the walls, indicate that. If you want to go semi-gloss on the trim, indicate that. If you want to go flat on the ceilings, indicate that. Because if you hand over that responsibility to someone, it can be a contractor, it can be someone else that's running your project. They may want to go cheap on everything and run the same sheen throughout the entire property, but you may have wanted something different. You can get away with it on some rentals and maybe even some lower end flips. But if you're doing more of a higher end project, you may really want it to differentiate the different sheens that are on different surfaces of the property. For us also in the basement, we like to go with a slate gray. We'll paint the floor, but we like the floor paint with the epoxy in it. I've just used other paints, and it's like, if you're going to use the other paints, you painting that floor better be the exact last thing that you're doing, and you shouldn't be walking on that floor anymore, because otherwise it's going to show scuff marks. It's going to start to chip the paint up. But we've noticed with the epoxy paint is that it hides a lot of the dirt. It forgives a little traffic even after you're supposed to be done with the project. Things like that you want to keep in mind. Hey, I know it costs. I need you to buy the $50 a gallon floor paint with the epoxy in it. That's what we're going to paint our basement with. So you want to be super, super, super detailed on your scope of work. You want to get measurements. You want to get quantities. I need the quantities for my materials list. So how many doors are throughout the entire building, and not just the doors, but what size are the doors? Are they pre-hung or are they slabs? Are you in the house with a bunch of weird sizes to where now your contractor is going to have to rip a door? And if you're going with the hollow core doors, you only have so much space that you can cut off of it. So now you may want to go with an actual pre-hung door. So you have to keep all of that in mind. You need to label which room needs a pre-hung door, which rooms will we get away with just changing out the slab, where do we need to change out our exterior doors. All of that you want to make sure that you are documenting. You're documenting inside of your scope of work. Moving right along to our materials list. This is helping us stay organized. So first, with me, I create the materials list either at home or it's back in my office. So we used to do it on site, and we would be on site for like 2 or 3 hours. I kid you not. We would go through and build out the whole scope of work, and we would build out the entire materials list. I mean, on the table, writing it down, writing down the quantity, writing down how much it costs. But that was just a waste of time. And if I'm able to complete this back home or in my office, it's a lot easier, a lot faster to do it. I can actually have my scope of work open and I can have my a screen with the materials list, and I can start to fill out the materials list as opposed to doing everything. On my phone. And what that often entailed was one of us had the scope of work open and the other had the materials list, and we were sort of telling each other, as opposed to imagine having to go from scope of work to materials list on your phone, scope of work to materials list to, on your phone, scope of work, update the materials list on your phone. So it's a lot more efficient to create a very, very, very thorough scope of work so that you'll be able to build out a thorough materials list. How that materials list is going to look like you'll have your product name, you'll have the quantity, you'll have the unit cost, and then you'll have the total, and then you'll have a link. I like to have a link to the product, so when it's time for me to start ordering materials, I just click on the link, it'll take me to the page, I can throw it in the cart. I'm done with that. I click on the next product, throw it in the cart. I also have what store, because sometimes we may get things from Home Depot, sometimes we may get things from Amazon, sometimes we may go to a local supplier like Hoods for our cabinets. So I'll indicate what store we're doing it. Whenever we're building this out, so me, I work with the team. So you may be just flying solo right now, but I do like the idea of you sort of prepping for if you were to scale this operation, or else if you were going to train someone in this seat and then move on to another seat. So that's how I would like to think, to where it's not going to be you forever doing this process. If so, hey, it is more power to you, but you want to make it duplicatable. You want to make this to where someone can easily come in and comprehend this system that you've built out. And lastly is what we've already sort of talked about. Use that scope of work to guide the list, but that scope of work has to be very, very thorough. You don't want to get to your materials list and you're like, oh man, how much square footage of flooring do I need to order? Because you didn't put it on your scope of work. Now we have a 1,200 square foot house, so I know I need to buy enough vinyl plank to cover that. We're running vinyl plank throughout the entire home. Or else do we already have hardwoods? Hey, we're just going to refinish the hardwoods and we'll run porcelain in the kitchen and the bathrooms. Our kitchen maybe 10 by 10, our bathroom 5 by 5. How much square footage is that? So now we know how much porcelain we need to get. For your hardwood floors, you still need to know, even though you're not running flooring over it, you still need to know how much square footage you're dealing with, because now that's going to be your labor. How much are the contractors charging to refinish 1,000 square feet of hardwoods? So you want to just document the sizes, just document the measurements, just document the quantities, so that your scope of work and your materials list can be thorough. Next up is going to be our bids. So we're staying organized. We have our scope of work, we have our materials list. Now we can dispatch contractors out, give them our scope of work. They can go walk the property, and we can dispatch the contractor, and they send us back a quote, or they send us back a bid. Or as you start to do more, you're going to know what's market pricing. You're going to know what's the contractor pricing that you typically work with. You're going to know, like, hey, it's about $250, $350 a square foot for me to run some flooring in here. Tack on a few hundred more for us to shoot the cord around there. You're going to start to know how much it is to paint. We typically just buy 1,000 square foot homes. How much it is to a ranch home with just one level and a basement. How much it is to paint it. And then you actually be able to start to establish a budget. And you may have we have a proposal email, or a renovation proposal email that you can shoot over to your contractor. Hey, here's the scope of work. Here's the budget. If you can meet the budget, the job is yours. If not, let me know. We can talk about it. You can compare that with some other bids or whatnot. But I say all that to say is that you've sort of picked up on volume. You've been diligent in paying attention to pricing, to market pricing, to contractor pricing. So you sort of know what things should cost. You can set a budget and then give it to them and see if they meet it. This way, because you could have been lower than what they may have charged, and they said yes to yours. Or else, if they did come in higher, you can always negotiate. Always negotiate. And when I say always negotiate, don't be scared to always negotiate. But if you sort of get a rep to where every time a contractor gives you something, you're driving them down, pretty soon they're going to stop answering your phone calls, especially if you're trying to get them below below market pricing. So it'll work for a little bit, but it won't be long term, and you're going to find yourself always shuffling through contractors. And if you have any doubt, just put yourself in their shoes. And if someone that you knew, every time you went out and provided a bid for them, so now you're even giving them new intel, you're giving them new knowledge. This is how much it will cost to do a project like this, and they're either not getting the job, or if you're trying to talk them down 10-20%, that'll work for a few times, and then they are going to find somebody that's not going to do that to them, and I can guarantee you that they're going to start to put their costs above yours. So learn the game, learn the market, start to give them a budget and see if they can meet it. And then that will work. That's going to better position you for moving forward. You may have some contractors that still want to give you their numbers. That's fine. That's cool. And if it works with your budget, just roll with it. And then the ones who comply with your process of, hey, I already have a budget. This is all I have to work with. This keeps me in. This keeps me in line with my numbers. It keeps me in line to where I'll be able to refinance and get the project sold. Just send them out and then see if they can meet it. What I've also come to find out is that it's a lot easier for the contractors as well. When they already have a budget and they're just going out, I can do this, yes or no, as opposed to having to go back, write everything up, having to come up with the budget, having to calculate square footage. You're actually saving them a lot of time when you already have a budget, you already have a thorough scope of work, and they can go out and either give you their nay on it. And then lastly, we sort of hit the top two already. Award the job if they can meet the budget and if they're a good contractor. Also with the bids, don't forget to get multiple bids. That's going to be great. It's a good principle. You're gonna get to where you have a go-to contractor. You may have a few go-to, and you're like, right, I'm ready to start. I've worked with these guys on the last 10 projects. Like I'm ready to go. I don't need to send 3 guys out. This is coming within my budget. And I'm all about time, so let's just get it going. But if you're still to the point to where you want to just make sure that like I'm getting the best that the market will offer me, and sometimes the best is not the lowest price. Sometimes most of the time, the lowest price is actually your most expensive. So keep that in mind. So things that we're looking for is, of course, price, but also timeline, also integrity, also when you do what you say. Are you going to show up to the job site, or are you coming late nights when you're dead tired? When you're coming late night, that means that your project is currently not their top priority. And that's fine, but when you start to see a pattern of that, they are working their prioritized job during the day, and then they're working your job in the evening. And while it's cool, you can work whenever you want. Typically, whenever they have that type of setup, they've given that A+ energy to that first job, and when they get to yours, man, like they're tired, or say, I'm not gonna really go the extra mile on this, and I'm gonna do a shortcut. It's getting kind of late. It's 8. It's starting to get dark. I'll only been here 2 hours, but I'll come back tomorrow. And the project will just start to drag, and it'll take a long time just to get certain things done. And then you're driving there, and there's no one there. So just try to get that information up front. Hey, what hours will you be at my project? Will it be you, or do you have a crew? For cleanup, do you clean up your job site daily? Do you clean it up every week? You want to get all of those types of details so that you can know what type of job site will be ran. And when you're getting those expectations from them, also let them know what you plan to do. Hey, I stop by my project at least 4 times a week. Whenever I stop by, I love to just go through the scope of work, go through the actual scope of work, right? Whenever you visit a property, your contractor may say, oh yeah, we've all done it. I'm done with this and I'm done with that. But then when you go through the actual scope of work, it's items that you really can't check off yet because they aren't done. So whenever you have a project, your contractor is going to find a bunch of other things going on in the house that maybe you forgot to even put on the scope of work. I love keeping the scope of work the first priority. Let's get through this. And unless any of these other findings are keeping you from completing the scope of work items, let's focus on the scope of work. And then any unforeseens or anything that came up, just write that up. That'll be a change order. We'll both review it, we'll approve it, and then we can hop on that. But oftentimes, especially if you're working on behalf of clients, this unfinished scope of work is your liability to the client. So the longer I go without getting these things done, I'm in liability to the client. The more I get to 100% completion, now I'm out of liability. I've done what I said that I was going to do to the property. We're complete. Now, here's my memo to you, or you may hand it off to the client, you may hand it off to the property manager, you may address it because it's your project. This is what I saw when I was working this house, and this is what I would recommend doing. This is my price for getting it done, and then inside of a year or nay, we will move forward with that. So that's my take on whenever you're working with contractors and whenever you're going to visit the property. So you're getting their expectations of how they move, but you need to also let them know how you move. I'll be visiting. I love to go through the actual scope of work, pictures, video walkthrough. If anything comes up off the scope, decide to give me a call, shoot me a text. At least it's on my radar, and then from there you disclose it to me, and we can keep moving forward. So lastly, we're moving on from the bids. Lastly is you need an at-a-glance table. So I work off of something I created called a vendor management table. You may call yours whatever. You may have it all in Excel, but it needs to be at a glance of your total project. A line item for labor, your plumbing, your electrical, your HVAC, your lawn care. So if you know this is going to be a 3-month project, your lawn care is $50 a cut. You're getting two cuts a month. Budget that. So that's $100 a month. So you need to be at least $300 to get you through the renovation. Maybe another $300 while it's on the market. Another 3 months, or you can drop it down $100 if it's another 2 months. Just don't forget small things like that. Your occupancy inspection may be $90, $100. Your building permit that you have to get, because we pull permits, right? Maybe $175. Don't forget that. Whenever your MEP tradesmen are they pulling their own permits, or are they tapping onto an integrated building permit that you may already have? You want to make sure that you have all of those things budgeted, and you want to have the line item. And you want to have the line item in an at-a-glance table. That helps me so much. I have that table. I keep my liability on the right side, and then whenever I pay the plumber, I'm all done. Then I'll mark it to a zero balance. I owe plumbing $0. The electrician $0. He's done. I paid him. The carpenter $0. I paid him. And as we go down, right? So I still got to pay so and so. I still got to pay our glazer $500 to come and glaze the bathroom. I still have to pay our cleaner $350. All right. So I about $1,000 is my liability that's still on this job. Check the bank account. Okay, cool. I still got that in there. And then you work that all the way down to zero. That's going to help you stay organized. Is to have something at a glance. You can look at your table. You can look at the bank account. If it starts getting wonky, just know that
20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 120, 140, that's $100.
Just know that you have some work to do, and in the meantime, it should stay pretty level if you are managing your project the right way. I'm always on our tables every day. I'm always in the bank accounts every day. So I'm working more from a project management standpoint, to where I'm quarterbacking the renovations. I'm not actually swinging the hammers. I love the guys that swing the hammers. They like create solutions out of nothing. Like those are blue collar geniuses, and I'm more project management, quarterback, and pushing projects forward. So this is the simple 4-step framework that you can use to kick off your renovation. Start from the top, a thorough scope of work. I don't want you all starting renovations without a scope of work. You all will actually be surprised, but I've ran into several people who just went into a business relationship with the contractor based off of just verbal direction. yeah, I want to get this done, I want to get this done, I want to get this done, but no real actual scope of work, no type of paperwork anywhere to be found. That lends itself to misinterpretations and hearsay. And then you get to the end of the project, this isn't really what I wanted. The contractor, this is exactly what you said, but nothing was written down. It's hard to argue with things written down, and then you reinforce that by actually walking the scope and verbalizing what it is that you want. But if it just all starts off verbal, oral tradition, no, I would definitely recommend to have a thorough scope of work. Next up is your materials list. We want to know how much is our, so this is our labor, and then our materials. We want to know how much our materials are going to cost. Don't forget your appliances. Don't forget, just any of your materials, your doors, your floor, your paint, everything, as well as your appliances in there. You want to have a hard number for how much your materials are going to cost. Next is going to be your bids. You got to send contractors out. This is going to give you your materials price. This is going to give you your hard labor costs. Once you get those, you pretty much know how much this project is going to cost. And then for the at a glance table, you can also make sure that you include some of those admin line items. So the permitting, the inspections, also your contingency. So if we're doing a renovation, you need to, if it's like maybe more of a newer building, you can go with 10%. Now, if you guys are doing full renovations, going down to the studs, you're renovating your inner city 100-year-old homes, those old homes where everything is wrong with it, then maybe you may want to go 15, 20% for your contingency for when things happen. It's not just if, but it's when things happen. You want to have money set aside to where your project can keep rolling because you have a little savings account that you can tap in for that unforeseen. Or as here in the Midwest, we get harsh winters and harsh summers. So if we have a winter where we have a pipe burst, I didn't put that on the scope to fix the bursted pipe because it hadn't bursted yet. But whenever it bursts, now my plumber's charging me $250, $300 to come and fix it. I can just pull it from my unforeseen, and we can keep moving like nothing happened. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the framework. I just kept it simple. It's nothing fancy. It's nothing rocket science. I don't even know if it's worth the video, but I hope that it helps someone out there who's about to go into their first renovation. I project manage maybe about 50 to 100 a year, and I use this framework to get it kicked off. I'll have more videos coming on how to actually manage it, like when we're actually in the renovation, and maybe we have multiple renovations going. So if you found this helpful, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Maybe you have questions. Just drop a comment below. I read every comment. I'll respond back. I'll answer any questions. If you have a different process or maybe something that you would add or take away, let me know. I look to drop videos like this every week, so I will see you guys on next week's video.